Welcome to Debt to Cinema. I'm Stephen Maltmanex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, sadly, we put a big dent in our wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we miss, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the other's opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
Oh my god.
I think he's dead.
We can't just leave him here.
Oh, tell me, little Miss Prelaw, what's the charge for manslaughter? We make a pact. Right here and now we take this to our grave.
For the last year, 4 friends have kept a secret.
Are you on drugs?
No.
Well, then what is wrong? I've had a rough year.
But not all secrets stay buried.
Somebody sent this to me. Oh my god.
Someone knows.
I know what you did last summer. Ooh.
What they thought would be a new beginning
Toast to us.
is becoming a dead end.
Somebody tried to kill you last night. We have to go to the police.
If he wanted me dead, he could have done it.
And the mistake they made is coming back to haunt them.
I don't think I ever would have thought of this movie for any reason to be on this show. Like, this kind of just wandered onto my lap, and it's because, let's just call this the year. Like, this is the year where for every holiday there's some horror pick, and we're gonna dry this well out this year. I know it.
Yeah.
Next year we might just do musicals or something. I don't know.
else.
Like, but yet at the same time, it's like, I don't think I would ever have done this on this show with anyone except for you,
Kevin
because
Williamson.
that and Dawson's Creek is your
Dawson's
thing.
Beach.
And yeah, you cannot dodge that here. So this is really just a you and me conversation.
A little bit. I mean, it is perfect timing that this film came out in 97. Dawson's Creek started like 97, 98. And so there are those little coincidental things that Kevin Williamson put in both products. Just the fact that, yeah, the beach here is called Dawson's Beach.
Well, this is before Dawson's Creek, so I
It's
don't
like right
is it supposed to be an Easter egg, or was he developing that?
Oh, I'm sure that the pilot was already filmed at that point. Like, the audience here, because this only came out probably, like, I don't know, like 7 months before Dawson's Creek aired on the WB. But yeah, the New England fishing town where boats are central to the plot.
North Carolina.
Still, it's the East Coast, okay? It's one of the colonies, which should be a bigger part in the 4th of July kind of setup, but that's really just there just for the sake of being there. It's like, oh, look, there's some fireworks, and it happened last year, and there's a parade, and there's a beauty pageant, but it really has nothing to do with the film. But in terms of Kevin Williamson films or projects, like, this is on the lower side of the spectrum just because it's so typical. It's so not generic, but
Without being there, like, I mean, this is what I've heard, you know, that this was hated at the time, that basically the marketing
not
for
by
this,
the film goers.
I mean, it made money, like, people went, but a
Ton of
lot of
money.
people just didn't like it, evidently, because I guess they were hoping it was going to be something like Scream, you know? This was hyped up as, like, you know, from the creators of Scream, which,
is.
funny enough, the Weinstein Company saw that in the marketing, and they sued Sony, and they won.
Well, it's okay, because the Weinsteins made the Scary Movie franchise, which is mostly inspired by I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream. So they still got their Kevin Williamson money. It didn't matter. Maybe they used that money to give that to the Wayans brothers. They gave them that, and they made it. Because that's what I couldn't escape when watching this. I've maybe seen this movie once. I know I've seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer like twice, maybe 3 times on cable when I was a kid. But I seen that first Scary Movie so many fucking times when I was watching this, in particular Ryan Felipe's character. I was like, I didn't know that they were parodying this film in particular, because it's such a cash grab, like, it's all over the place. But it's a spot-on fucking mockery. It is amazing. And because I hadn't seen this in so long, I just didn't know. I was laughing out loud in the beginning, like the opening third of this film, when they're setting up like the fisherman, the hookman, whatever you want to call him.
That just basically the background story for this,
Yeah.
because that's essentially what this movie is. As far as a mythology, that's what you get.
And it does have a good mythology, especially knowing that there's a sequel. The guy loses his hand at the end of this one.
Yeah,
So he literally
once
becomes
that happened,
the
I
Hookman.
was like, yeah, of course. Which,
Yeah, of course.
you know, I mean, not to spoil it, but that ending here, that
Pretty
final
good.
ending, fuck yes, that's a great note to end on.
That's how you start. Cause
That's a great jump scare to end on. Like always, you
mm-hmm.
know, most of the best modern horror movies do this. You know, you always want to end on a jump scare. That way people can have fun walking out.
Yeah.
And this one fucking nailed it.
I want to say Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Huge Tits show up again in the sequel, and then they're
I think most
met
of them
with,
are
like,
back, yeah.
well, everyone else died, but like
Yeah.
you get like Taye Diggs, and I think you get like Gabrielle Union, like you get a couple of black actors, and then like I think it's kind of like a like talking about Deaths of Cinema, it's kind of like a Bay of Blood type film where they go to like a summer retreat type thing, like a pool hall. I don't remember.
More like
exactly.
a slasher.
It's more of a slasher, yeah.
I mean, because it's not like, you know, this sort of is. It also isn't. I guess just not consistently like that.
It's more. This is more of a
It's like
suspenseful,
yeah, it's a thriller.
morality story.
It's a thriller slash mystery
wish-
slash what would you do scenario.
The mystery isn't quite good enough. Like, there's only a couple of false leads, like two, to be honest. There's the sister and there's the John Eagle-Eckie character. There isn't like enough for you to really ponder, even if they're like throwing lines around like, oh, Angela Lansbury.
Honestly,
like,
it's not like engaging as a mystery. Like it's a good scenario. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you definitely feel it when it happens in that moment with that setup. But yeah, you know, then I mean, I'm not exactly enjoying this movie for the plot. I'll put it that way. There's some cool kills in there, but I think it's, you know, maybe just as a slice of 90s pop culture, there's just something fun about watching this.
There's this great subreddit called Watch It for the Plot, which is basically insinuating like there's GIFs and pictures. It's like Mr. Skin. It's like it's worth watching it for this, and this film has a lot of that. Even if you don't see it, just it's Jennifer Love Hewitt, man. She's at the peak of her age and her body, and she's hanging out all over the place. Like I was doing commentary because she's very clearly the final girl. She's kind of set up that way, in that she's the plain Jane to Sarah Michelle Gellar's like.
She's the conscience,
Look at me, beauty,
you know, of the group,
conscience.
which is all that ends up being the final girl, like, or just in any horror movie scenario, you know, that you rarely follow the idiot or the dick till the final end.
Which should be a thing.
Which would
if you
be,
think
I would
about
love
it.
to see that, actually. That should
It
be an
would be
interesting way to
awesome.
turn the genre on its head.
Cabin in the Woods does it a little bit, or even just Evil Dead. Like Ash Williams is the dick, and he gets to fucking become the hero. Maybe that's why people like the Evil Dead franchise so much, me included. It's atypical. It's usually someone with a heart of gold, a Boy Scout, like a virginal, like queen. Like you have some kind of moral compass.
I don't know,
when
are
it
you
comes
talking
to
about
Ash,
the first one, though?
Well, it's
It's a weird
especially
call
in the first
because
one.
Ash is...
He becomes
it's
more of a dick
inconsistent.
along the way.
Yeah.
But he still does a couple of fucked up things in the first film. But scary movie, yeah. So all of the great Ryan Felipe, like over the top drunk moments in this film, where he's like, "That's my girlfriend!" Woo! Like when he stands up in the car and he's dancing like through the roof.
By
Like
the way, all his fucking fault, too. Like,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
For
it's like,
sure.
no, it's none of our fault. No, dude, it's you. Like,
It's you.
It's
You're-
you the
you're
whole
drinking
time. You were the
fucking-
one that caused this.
like 15-year-old scotch straight from the bottle. Like I was watching, I was like doing commentary with Ashley last night. I was like, that's a $10 swig right there. But the way that they just they flip. You haven't seen the first Scary Movie, have you?
No, I have not seen one.
That's
or
probably
two.
gonna be my Halloween pick for this year of Death Cinema.
Save it, yeah.
Because like we'll build all the way up to it, and then you'll see. I don't want to talk about it, but oh man, like you'll trust me, it's gonna be a good episode just for the fact of like, oh my god, yeah, they didn't even make a parody. They just pointed out how like accidentally comical. Because I would assume your screening was having a ball during
Yeah.
like the opening 30 minutes of this, right?
Oh yeah, I mean everyone was laughing in the right
It's
places,
hard not
particularly
to
at
laugh.
Ryan Felipe. Like
Yeah.
this was fun, you know. That's what kind of night this was. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the guy introing it for some reason. Like, you know, I honestly the only reason I saw this because hey, it's 4th of July, and also just knowing about this, it was like a 90s piece of pop culture I've heard of. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he kind of prefaced this like almost with shame. Like, you know, like a lot of people would be like, why would the fuck would you program this? And his response is, why the fuck would I not? And after watching this, I'm like, yeah, why not? Like,
It's a
this
fun
was
little
awesome. This was
trashy
fun.
movie.
Yeah.
It's like just the cast alone is kind of worth watching. Like if only this had good music, it would be a really good '90s film. And the music is on the weaker side.
It doesn't have memorable music, but I gotta say,
really
like,
doesn't.
it
the score isn't bad.
starts out like really at the beginning, like that first number, that and that shot, you know, just
shot of the
really
coast.
sucks you in and gets you into it, and just gives you a feeling of the time and the place. And I was just getting ready, you know, like not only was that shot good, but there were some credits here that surprised me that I knew nothing about. Like I saw it was produced by Neil Morris, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, the Fast and the Furious guy. Like I tend to like what he does. Oh, John Debney scored this? That's an early one? Fuck, this should sound pretty good. And, you know, the score is actually pretty good.
But then the who's who of just late 90s, early 2000s teen actors. Freddie Prinze Jr. and his wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar. You have Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Felipe, Johnny Galecki, like I said, Anne Heche in like a really early role. The sister whose name I still don't remember, but you've seen her in so many things. Like, everyone here didn't go really on to do anything. Their careers kind of shriveled up shortly after this movie came out.
Sarah Michelle Gellar did Buffy.
Yeah, well, I mean, she did Buffy, but look at her now. It's like Jennifer Love Hewitt, like, what happened? Freddie Prinze Jr. was with Sarah Michelle Gellar in the 2 Scooby-Doo movies, but then even still...
Sarah
and then, like,
Michelle
that one's
Gellar
even...
did Southland Tales, don't forget that.
Oh, I can forget it because I haven't seen it yet.
Horniness is not a crime.
But if you look at that Scooby-Doo movie, too, especially, because Matthew Lillard is in that as well.
That's right.
And then it's written by some guy that started out in horror. You know, you had James Gunn.
Yeah.
Like, Seth Green also, he's in Idle Hands. Like, everyone in
Is
that...
Seth Green in Scooby-Doo?
he's in the second one. The only person who's not in horror is Linda Cardellini. She's the only one that doesn't have some kind of... I think she's been in something since then, though. And it's kind of hard not to. I mean, it makes sense, and it's like coincidental that the second year of Dead to Cinema, we would start doing lots of horror picks when this is kind of like the comeback of the genre the last couple of years now. And it's funny because with this one in particular, this era of 90s filmmaking, there was also a real hot streak. We're talking about Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and both of those got 2 or 3 or even sometimes 4 sequels. And then you also have a parody coming out, which was a huge hit because these films were such a huge hit that necessitated having some kind of just jokey version of the films, even if the Scary Movie franchise, the first 2 films anyway, still have like a little bit of a crude factor to them. If you're laughing through it, it's still like enough.
And this is really Kevin Williamson at the top of his game. You know, someone whose career I really don't know anything about. It's just I know Scream. I now know this. I know that there's Dawson's Creek. Like, there's a ton of stuff I know, but like
The Vampire Diaries, The Following.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, this guy's in his late 20s, early 30s at this point, and that is his peak. Like, that is an achievement.
Lucky.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget The Faculty.
No, The Faculty.
Yeah.
He's just one of those lucky screenwriters that the industry was looking for a voice like his at the time that he was writing, and everything that, well, not everything, but most of what he pushed out was put on the screen. And it's funny because I was just like doing quick research. Vampire Diaries has an episode called I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's kind of cute. There's an episode of Dawson's Creek, I think it's from the first season, the Halloween episode, where there's a killer on the loose, which is pretty reminiscent of this killer. And
Why would you not play with that, especially when this has Dawson's Beach?
Right? Like, even if that was like a year and a half, almost 2 years after this came out, or I guess it would be a year. Like, exactly a year. And Kevin Williamson's name wasn't really attached to Dawson's Creek like it is on... It's not really attached to this film. Like, it is in retrospect, especially in filmic circles. But they didn't sell it, with Kevin Williamson.
Well, I mean, this is now referred to as the Dawson's Creek horror film, you know, which I vaguely see that because I've seen commercial spots for Dawson's Creek. I can say that.
It's only because
I recognize...
town.
Yeah, I recognize the theme whenever I saw that, but
like, there isn't a love triangle here. There isn't a sense of student body or, like, adolescence. Like, growing up isn't a part of this film. Like, it is lacking what makes, like, true slashers work, where it's like,
characterization is not really part of this film. Like...
It's weird, right?
Again, it's like, yeah, there's really no memorable characters. They're all stock. The mythology is not that interesting.
It's not
the
bad,
mystery
though.
is not that interesting. The scenario is good, but then It's also really entertaining, you know.
It's like when you get that campfire on the beach where they're all sharing their version of the story and they're going back and forth and like
And they
tipping
can't
over
agree
each
on
other's
which one it
toes.
is.
And then that's something that happens later when you have the cop right before he gets killed and he's like, "Oh, I've heard this story before. I thought he came out of an insane asylum." And like just the idea that this film is loosely adapted from an urban legend, and then throughout the course of the film they create one, you know, like this escaped convict or whatever with the hook hand wasn't a real thing, it was fantasy, but by the end of the film it's now a thing. Like that's a really cool concept. And I don't know if you've seen the movie we were talking about during my screening last night, or our screening, Urban Legends, that came out like 99.
I have not.
No. So same era filmmaking, and the concept there is that this serial killer is killing people in ways that urban legends have said people would die. And like one of the bigger ones is there's like this myth that, you know, Mikey, the kid that sold Life cereal, Mikey likes it. Like he doesn't like anything, but he likes Life. And there was this urban legend that he died by mixing like Coca-Cola and Pop Rocks and his like stomach exploded or something like that. And so they recreate that urban legend in the film using, what is it? I think it's coolant and Pop Rocks or something stupid. And like they like shove a funnel down someone's throat. Oh my God, it's awesome. Robert Englund's also in that as like a side character, which is fun because he's not in much outside of the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So that's like one of those fun little things. There's also, was it Michael Rosenbaum? Yeah, he's in that. He plays like a radio, like a college radio DJ. But that's one of those just fun era, like not exactly teen movies, but teen horror, which doesn't even exist now. Like there was just this interesting crossover because I've talked about it on the show before, where you have the teen movies. Like the teen movies really stopped being a true thing at the end of the 90s, the early 2000s. That's when they kind of died off, in the same way that, you know, Scary Movie cemented that the horror films of this era were important. So did Not Another Teen Movie, which was the first parody in that series outside of Scary Movie made. I love that this is probably just because it's Kevin Williamson and all of his material is about teenagers doing things that they shouldn't be doing, that this is more a morality tale. Like this is something, even especially so if it's adapted from the Lois Duncan novel, or like loosely adapted, which is much more about the dangers of like drunk driving and doing stupid stuff as a teenager. Like you have that line.
Yeah, nobody dies in that novel either. So
no,
I don't think it's supposed to be a slasher at all. Like this is a young adult novel from the 70s. You know, it's not like that.
You have that line here though on the boat, which is awesome, when right after Freddie Prinze Jr. gets like knocked the fuck out, and the fisherman dude, the father goes, what's he do? He's like, aren't you supposed to be out drinking and driving and having fun and killing
running
people?
over people? Yeah.
Next time, make sure they're dead. And then at the end of this film, they didn't make sure he was dead either. Like, oh, he fell off the boat. He's dead. Like it's just, I don't know. This is like, this film's not quite campy, but it's right on the cusp of being so. Like if this had the fun music, if this had like more interesting setups, if there was like a party they went to or something.
Well, there are really fun set pieces here, though. Like especially
like the beauty
in the
pageant.
third act. Yeah, like just the one with Sarah Michelle gellar. Like just, I mean, that moment I was paying attention the whole time. But yeah, the freaking boat, that set piece.
Yeah. Oh, the
that
boat
was
is awesome.
huge. That was good.
No, yeah, the final the final action set piece here is great. But it's just weird that you have this group of 4 teenagers who are supposed to like be friends, and they've maybe fallen apart because of the years since the traumatic thing that they experienced. But it's really just the Jennifer Love Hewitt story. She's the one that follows the lead. She's the one that's on the case. She's the one using the internet and going to his sister's house and not like rekindling her romance. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. is barely even in the fucking movie. Maybe it's because he was filming She's All That. I don't know. But like he's barely in this thing. He shows up in the beginning with everyone else. He's in one scene in the middle, and then he shows up again at the end to save the day. Like, but he's not in it in the way that Ryan Felipe is or Sarah Michelle Gellar is, where they're there like almost every scene. They have some like kind of action set piece. Like, how easy would it have been if when she was seeing the sister, when she was seeing Anne Heche, if right in that moment, if Freddie Prinze Jr. was leaving right before she pulled up or something like that, and they could have like a passing glimpse, because it's like almost Scream-esque where you're led to believe that he's the killer for like a minute, okay? And then you just go, no, that's not possible because he's not in the movie enough. It's a false lead. Like I was so forgetful of this film that I thought Johnny Galecki was going to be the killer just because he has that great setup, but then he's the first person that dies, and he has the best death also. The way that fucking hook goes through the bottom of his chin and he gets dragged across that table.
I mean, that's
awesome.
really that's the first one, or the first slasher kind of death. That was the one where I was like, oh, so this is actually a slasher movie. But then
it's the only one
pacing wise, it never really picks up from there. Then it's just like, all right, then they're all safe from the end. But
yeah, there's not like
but
a
yeah,
body
no, that
count
was
in this
awesome
movie.
though.
The body count's like what, like maybe 6?
I think so,
but it's not.
If you include the one of the
I mean, we can count.
Technically
you got Johnny Galecki, you got Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Felipe, you got the cop, you got the sister. So that's what, 5? And then you could also argue like, well, the boyfriend, the inciting incident, the boyfriend, but still not that much. And you only really see like half the kills. So it's
I mean it's I don't know. It's not exactly a slasher movie. It's got slasher moments.
I'm pretty sure the sequel is a slasher though, as far as I can recall. Yeah, especially like just the way it ends. Like you have like a killer now. Because I think the beauty of this film is that the fisherman isn't wearing a costume. He's wearing just like his actual garb. He doesn't have a mask. He's just wearing a hat that conceals his face. And for about half the film, you can see totally what he looks like. It's not hidden. It's not using cameras or weird angles to like kind of askew what he is. You know that he's an actual fisherman. You know he has this hook, and you don't know why he's doing this to these kids, but you're aware that it's happening. Like, it's not a mystery like that. Like, it has more going on for it, but it's, at the end of the day, it's just like this weird, fun Kevin Williamson like side project. Like, it's not in his must-watch stuff, but it is must-watch because it's Kevin Williamson.
I know you love The Faculty, but I'd say it's...
Oh, I love The Faculty.
Yeah, this is probably there, like, along with that for me, where it's just as fun.
I think the difference is that Robert Rodriguez brought a lot of energy to that. I mean,
Yeah.
for one thing, it takes place in Texas, which, you know, just filmmaker little touch right there. The music, like, that one has good music in it.
Right from the opening credits. Like, it just kicks into full gear.
Same difference, though, with the cast, like, great cast. But, yeah, that one's a high school movie in the same way that, like, Nightmare on Elm Street is a high school movie, or Scream. You know, like everything is important. Like the classroom, being chased down the hallways, like who's that guy with the janitor bucket? And that one's like a more isolated incident because it's like probably in terms of slasher films, because it's not exactly a slasher film, it's a pod person film, that has like the highest stakes of most, like comparatively to most horror films, like even more than something like Alien or Predator, like high for a horror film. And this isn't that. This is just like this little tiny document. Like, this is probably the movie that made Dawson's Creek happen. I'm sure he already had the treatment. He probably had like a couple of scripts done. Maybe already filmed the pilot, like I said. And it was like, we're gonna make this show in this similar town. It's gonna be about these kids and the stupid stuff they do.
Is Dawson's Creek supposed to be in the East Coast, or is it West Coast?
It's like Cape Cod. Like, in terms of just a visual standpoint, it looks exactly like this film does. Makes me want to rewatch Dawson's Creek, though, I can tell you that, especially the Halloween episode, but more so Scary Movie.
Well, you got the set you need for it.
I guess so, yeah. I can't buy this one.
Silver dollar.
It's like barely a silver dollar. It's like...
They're right on the edge for me. Like, it was fun, you know.
It's a fun movie. And
maybe if I spend more time divorced from it, then I'll probably jump into Dime a Dozen. But hey, for now, like this was a good time. You know,
it's slightly above Dime a Dozen.
That's where it's weird. I mean, just as a product of its time, you know, it's fun. I don't know. It's like, it's not great. It's just I enjoyed watching it.
The makeup of it.
Yeah,
the cast and the clothes and the town and where this fits in his career, because it's still at the beginning of it, makes it really interesting. And just where these people went on. Like, I would assume that Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. met on the set of this film, and then their chemistry was so good, even though they don't really share any scenes together, that, you know, they fell in love and got married and then got paired as, you know, Daphne and Fred, among other things. It's an interesting little thing, but I said, Scary Movie, when you see that, you're going to understand, like, this film is all right. the way that they are able to take the scenario in this film and flip them to make it for like, oh my god, like jokes of the century, must watch. Maybe after the fact. I don't know. Like, it's gonna make, like, I wasn't laughing necessarily because this was funny. I was laughing because I realized, because I've seen that first Scary Movie so many times, like I said, and I've only seen this maybe once, twice now, that like the jokes weren't fabricated. Like, it was funny. It's still
also,
funny.
It is legitimately funny. Come on, Ryan Felipe just hulking out, I guess.
But it's supposed to
his
be
meltdowns.
serious. That's what's hilarious. Like, he's supposed to be this, like, hot dude with the nice bod, football career, alcoholic, like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. Like, I don't think you're supposed to laugh in the way that I was. Like, my stomach hurt.
So
I was chuckling so hard.
I still cannot get past this. So he's about to be killed by call him the hook-handed man for the sake of it.
Uh-huh.
And then he just lets him go, and then he's just in the hospital complaining about it.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're about to get a kill, and it's like, nope, he's not a slasher yet. I don't know, kind of a blessing that we get more of him, though, to laugh at.
Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen to more by checking out the Dollar Reviews Show, where we cover theatrical and streaming releases, as well as give our 2 cents on anything we sought out on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. You know, trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, and you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too. And also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films that I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.